So the footage you're about to see is everything Bali. How much my trip was, the experiences I had, tips and tricks. So that video was filmed, I want to say about a week or two after I got back from Bali. I'm just redoing my intro now because, you know, your girl looked a little dusty in that video, so I had to. But yeah, I will say when I filmed that video, I was in this condo, but it was completely empty. The lighting wasn't the best at the time because I didn't have my lights and everything with me. So just kind of bear with me throughout that video. I gave a lot of good info and I really hope you enjoy. I'll stop rambling. We're gonna get into the video. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome. You already know what to do. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already and hit that bell so you're notified every single time I post a video. Oh, so you trying to take flights? Travel, huh? Oh, venture? Share this video then. Now, I was just about to film a video on how to plan for affordable trips, finding flights, buying food, all that. But I decided let me film a separate video for Bali first, and that's what this is going to be. This video will cover 3 things. How much did I spend on this trip? I'll list everything out. 2, I'm just gonna give a couple of observations that I had while I was over there, along with a few tips and recommendations. And 3, I got some tea for y'all, okay? How this solo trip went left, south, around. Nah, I'm playing, it wasn't that bad. So, this is the pre-trip planning process. Long story short, I wanted to go to Bali. I started asking around, seeing who would want to come. People kept hitting me with the run around, the ooh, I'll let you know. Finally, I have one person give me a hard yes, right? I put together a whole detailed, rough budget, sent it to her, she said it was all good. Fast forward, it's time to buy the flight. She hits me with the, oh, do you mind if we wait 2 more weeks? I'm trying to get my money together. Now, I didn't want to, but I said okay, right? 2 weeks later, I hit her up. Hey girl, you ready to buy the flights? She gonna casually hit me with the, oh, I can't go. Anywho, with that said, I searched really hard for my flight. I bought my flight a little under 5 weeks before the trip, and I paid $780 for it. Now, I will say that is still a really good deal for the time period that I went to Bali, but still, it's way more expensive than the initial flights that I had seen before I wasted my time asking anybody if they wanted to come. I should have just planned for this to be a solo trip from the beginning, bought my flight when I first thought about going. But that said, $780 was the price. Day 1 was a solo trip in Turkey. All things Turkey will be talked about in a separate video. Cost, everything. Day 2, I landed in Bali, like 7-ish p.m. Y'all, I spent $154,000 on a ride to the villa. Now that's equivalent to about $10 US, but still, overpriced for the distance I was going. Side note, I'll explain this more at the end of my video, but pretty much I met up with 2 solo travelers when I got to the villa. That was my first time ever meeting them in person. The reason why I bring this up though is because a lot of the times we would divide the costs up for things like taxi ride or grab rides, food, things of that such. So for example, if I spent $60,000 on a grab car, you know, if we got back from the club and we were hungry, maybe someone else would spend $60,000 and just get us all burgers and fries or something like that. So you'll notice when I'm listing out these prices, if I say, oh, I didn't pay for blah, 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 it's probably because we were splitting costs. So got back to the villa, changed, showered. I ended up going out that night. So I got 2 drinks. One was a Jack and Coke, the other was a mojito. I remember one was $80K, the other was $60K. End of the night, we had burgers and fries. I didn't pay for it. Day 3, that was my jet lag day, so we didn't do any crazy activities that costed money. I remember I was chilling in the pool, we ordered food that morning. That food was $44 and we had it delivered. Later that day, I spent $39,000 on lunch, and that was it for the day because I literally passed out after lunch. Y'all have to remember that 12-hour time difference had me all kinds of messed up. So yeah, I fell asleep in the middle of the afternoon. That was also the same day that the property manager came and asked for us to make our payment for the villa. I thought that was a little weird how he allowed us to stay there for a little bit and then in the middle had asked for us to pay, but whatever. I paid $424,800 cash, which is roughly 30 bucks in US money. And that was to cover pretty much the whole week that I was there. Day 4 was the day we did the Airbnb experience. We prepaid for it online through the Airbnb website. It was $40 US. That was the day we bounced around. We went to the Gates of Heaven, waterfall. We saw a bunch of things that day. And our driver was so nice, so accommodating, and he took our photos for us a lot of the times. So we ended up tipping him. I remember I gave him $50,000 at the end of that day. As far as food goes that day, I ate like crap. If you watch the vlog, you'll see that we had to wake up at 4 a.m. to do this trip. It was like a pastry thing, Pringles, water, and Oreo cookies. Whole thing costed $12,000. Later that evening, came back. We had some kind of chicken dish. It was $30K. Then I went to bed. Day 5, we did the Balinese traditional dress photo shoot. Again, it was prepaid online. It was $20 US. That morning, my breakfast was the McDonald's that y'all saw in the vlog. That came up to $66,000. A little pricey, but that was literally the only thing open at the time, and I was really hungry, so. That afternoon, we went to Seminyak, I believe it's pronounced, which is a super touristy, kind of overpriced portion of Bali. We got food there. My total came up to $180. After the restaurant, we went to a beach club. It was called Mississippi. It was a $100 entry fee. And then we had to pay a minimum of $600,000 worth of drinks. I did not want to go there. I really did not want to go there. It was overpriced. And again, if you convert it to US money, it's not that much, but you have to also remember, I only had a certain amount of cash on hand. I only withdrew $1 million and I'm about to spend $600,000 at a beach club. I only got one drink and it was $130K. The other two got more drinks. I let them cover that cost. I paid for the grab back to the villa. It was $38,000. That night we went to 2 clubs. The first one I forgot the name for it. The second one is called La Favela. I got 3 drinks in total that night. They were all Jack and Coke, $60K each. Day 6, it's 3-ish in the morning. At this point, I was sick of the BS. This is when I decided I'm getting the hell out of here. And I immediately started searching for another villa. This wasn't a part of my budget, it wasn't planned, but it had to be done. I ended up paying $112 US for 2 days, 2 nights pretty much in a new villa. Now I will say $112 for 2 nights is extremely pricey considering that I only spent $30 for the week, but you have to consider the circumstances. I booked that Airbnb pretty much 4 in the morning and I was DMing him like crazy, asking if it'd be ready for 11 a.m. that morning. And he was so accommodating. He responded so quickly. I repeat, it was 4 a.m. and he was up responding to me. David, that was the name of my host. He was awesome. So later that same morning, I got a grab car from the first villa to the second villa. It was $21K. After I dropped off my stuff, I went to this cafe for breakfast. The bill was $80K, which I wasn't too happy about because it was just these 2 little egg benedicts. I felt like I could have gotten a little more food for the amount that I paid. No, that's just the frugal side of me talking. It was a delicious breakfast, I will say. So the grab car to the breakfast spot was $25K and the grab car back to the villa after breakfast was $23K. Later that day, I ordered a private massage. The lady came to my villa. It was $140K. Look, I deserved it. I needed to treat myself and I did. Lunch/dinner for me was $53K. Day 7. That morning, I paid for a surfing class for later that morning. I paid $14 US online through Airbnb. So I finally decided to ride on the scooters in Bali. It was always half the price of the grab cars. I was just so scared of riding the scooters because I saw how they bob and weave in traffic and I thought I'd get into an accident. Long story short, hopped on a scooter. It was great. I got to my destination safely and it was only $12K to get there. After the surfing class, my scooter back home was only $10K. I ended up getting food delivered to the villa that day. It was $53K. And at that point, my flight was that evening, so I just chilled out for the rest of the day. My grab car to the airport was $70K. And day 8, again, was another solo day trip in Turkey, to be in another video. So this is what my total comes up to. But keep in mind, I had to pay for external factors that weren't part of my budget. I didn't plan on paying for another villa. But overall, when you look at the US dollar, this wasn't that bad of a trip, financially. Okay, observations, tips, recommendations. Observation number 1. I'll go in order from beginning of the trip till end. Flights. The physical flights themselves, minus the layover, I was in the air for 21 hours. I didn't notice this until I got to the villa and I was laying down and I looked at my ankle. It was completely swollen. It didn't hurt, but it was huge. It actually looked kind of gross. Something about blood flow and water. If this happens to you, don't be alarmed. They say to keep your feet elevated, which is what I did. So I laid on my bed and I put my feet up against the wall and I just read my Kindle that way. Articles say that it's supposed to go down between 3 to 5 hours. That's a damn lie. Mine didn't go down until the next evening. Observation number 2, transportation in Bali. Now this applies to people who are flying into the Bali International Airport. DPS is the abbreviation used. Pickup from the airport via Grab car is really simple once you know where to go, what to do. When you're leaving the airport, look for the main exit to the airport. There's gonna be all those people that hold the signs and stuff. You walk past them, go outside, walk past the taxis, straight into the parking garage. There's an elevator, take it to the 3rd floor. That's where Grab cars pick you up. You'll notice in the parking garage that there are columns everywhere, pillars, and they all have numbers painted on them. What's really nice about the app is that it'll tell you exactly what number column to stand next to. Another observation, bugs. Guys, those mosquitoes, whoo! I'm actually proud, okay? I only left Bali with 3 mosquito bites. And I also had packed ointment so I could put on the mosquito bites, which prevents itching. I highly recommend that you pack that. So the locals in Bali, oh my gosh, everyone there is so trusting. At the villa, I literally only remember locking the door like once. People aren't worried about you or what you got in your villa. The drivers there, food delivery people, they're also all so trusting. I had one driver drop me off to my destination and I didn't have enough change for him. I had big bills. So he was like, okay, there's a store right across the street, run in there, ask the clerk to break your bill, come back and pay. And I was like, okay. I ran across the street and I'm thinking like, how do you know I'm not gonna go across the street and you just disappear? It's precious to me. Obviously I came back and was like, here you go, gave him his change. But it's like, I feel like people would abuse that. Like, see ya. Like they would go in the store and sneak out the side door and you'd never see him again. Anyway. The airport departing flight. I made sure to time everything so that I could give you guys accurate info. So after I got to the airport, it took me 12 minutes to get through TSA. After I got through TSA, there's a second checkpoint, it's immigration. That took me 18 minutes worth of waiting in line, and then I talked to the guy. Once I got to the guy, spoke to him for like 30 seconds. I got to the airport at 7:51 p.m. and I hopped on the flight at 8:27 p.m. Recommendations. I highly recommend that you go on Airbnb and dedicate just one of your days on the trip to a full day tour. That is an amazing opportunity to see as many different places as you can in Bali for such a cheap price. My second recommendation, oh my goodness, I should have made it my first one. Go to the Kanto Lampo waterfall. Don't know if I pronounced it correctly, but that waterfall is gorgeous. It is such a beautiful piece of nature and I wish that we could have stayed there longer than what we did. But it's an Ubud. I can't remember if we paid an entry fee, and if we did, it was like 5K, 10K. I don't remember paying an entry fee though. Lastly, definitely check out my surf school. It's in Seminyak, Bali. My trainer was so patient with me and I was the definition of the shittiest student you could ever have. I crashed and burned every single time I got on that surfboard and he was so patient and it was actually really embarrassing. Now for some tips. Make sure that you buy a TSA lock for your luggage, for your suitcase and your carry-ons, backpacks. I don't trust people on flights, especially when I'm sleeping and I'm by myself. You don't know what people's intentions are. Just lock your backpack so at least you don't have to worry about, people slipping in and taking your wallet, your passport, whatever. Lock it. Second tip, when you're withdrawing money from ATMs in Bali, pay attention to the withdrawal fees. a lot of the ATMs, it'll either be 50,000 or 100,000. So make sure you're paying attention to which ATM is cheaper when you go. With that said, a lot of ATMs also have withdrawal limits. For the most part, it'll be 500K, but some ATMs go up to $1 million. So just keep that in mind. If you want to take out more money, you're gonna have to make multiple transactions. So it's gonna be multiple international fees when you use your card. Although I will say, when I got home, I checked my account and the international fee ended up only being 92 cents. But that's just my bank. Last tip, try to be as open to new people and ideas as possible, and always have a backup plan if anything in your trip goes left. And with that said, I will segue into the last topic. Was my very first international solo trip a fail? So there are 4 main things that caused me to ditch the people that I was with. And these things didn't happen all at once. They were little things that happened throughout the trip that built up, and then eventually I just couldn't deal with it any further. So I'll go from the mild occurrences up until the most irritating. The first thing, I noticed that some European people have a very stereotypical and narrow perception of how Americans are. Now, I can't speak for all people, but the one that I met was very big on making assumptions about the kind of person you were based on these American stereotypes that she had in her head. As a result, she would have moments where she would treat you in a manner that was rude or patronizing or just flat out disrespectful. And I can't count the number of times that she said to me, "See, that's the problem with you Americans," or, "Oh, you Americans are always blah, 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 blah. You Americans always think that you can blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, how are you gonna tell me how I think and how I act? What? You don't know me. And what people like her fail to realize, not every American is the same. Specifically, not every Black person in America is the same. You have Black people from the West Coast, the East Coast, the South. You've got people who are straight up Black American. You have your first generation Black people like me who were raised with different standards because foreign parents don't play. But it's such a diverse country, and for this one label, this one perception of who I am based on your stereotype to be stamped on my forehead, it wasn't fair and it was just annoying to deal with. 2, we had different motives on this trip. Now, I know that there are some people who travel simply to post pictures on Instagram and on their Insta stories to show people that they traveled. And if that's what makes you happy, I mean, do you. Now, don't get me wrong. If I'm somewhere and I see a scenic view or, an area in a room that looks super artsy, I'm gonna take a picture and I'm gonna post it because it's gonna be a fly ass picture. And when I travel, I usually always have that one destination in the back of my head that I wanna go to because I know that I intend to take pictures there. For me in Bali, it was the waterfall. The issue is, taking a picture somewhere shouldn't equal your experience there. That's not how I view things, at least. Taking a picture was a piece of the experience, but it isn't the experience. But me and Homegirl weren't on the same page when it came to that. Homegirl was pressed and obsessed over Instagram, and it really started to grind my gears after day 1. Literally only wanting to go places because they were Instagram famous locations, beach clubs and all this stuff. Oh, they're super big on Instagram. I kid you not, I've never in my life heard someone talk about Instagram so much in the 24 hours that we are given in a day. And that part did get a little frustrating because yes, a beach club here is cool, but I don't want to dedicate my whole trip to exploring these overpriced, gentrified pieces of Bali. We just weren't on the same page. But I will take blame too because I could have easily just done my own thing. At that point in the beginning of the trip, yeah, I flew to Bali by myself, but I was still, this was my first solo trip internationally. I wanted to get to Bali by myself, but then I wanted that crutch of having someone around. So yeah, she irritated me from jump, but I had to deal with it because I didn't want to be alone. All right, issue number 3. I was with a narcissist. It's gonna sound like I'm exaggerating. I'm really not exaggerating when I tell you what I'm about to tell you. Let's start small. She was one of those people, when she spoke to you, you needed to give her your undivided attention. Undivided. And if you weren't completely listening to her like this, she'll be talking and she'll keep tapping you like, hey, yeah, and yeah. Like, yo, back, relax. Oh my gosh. But then when you flip it and you're talking to her, she'll be in her own little world. If she's scrolling through her phone or doing something on her phone, she's not listening to you. But if you dare do it back, it's an issue. I noticed these narcissistic habits started to grow when, again, with Instagram. Oh my goodness. I've never seen someone so obsessed with their camera roll in my life. The reason why it affected me so much, there were two particular occasions. The first one was when we were in the Grab car on our way to the traditional dress-up photo shoot. The second one was when we were in the Grab car on our way to Mississippi. I'm in the car. You already know my sleep schedule was all wonky on this trip, so I use any moments that I can to catch some sleep. She literally wakes me up out my sleep, taps me, Rachelle, and then yells my name louder, Rachelle! So I woke up super fast, and this was her. Which photo should I pick? She was literally showing me 4 or 5 different pictures of herself. Which picture should I pick? Which filter should I use? Bitch, I'm sleeping. And I think the worst of those were she would get frustrated with me because I wouldn't compliment her enough or provide her enough good feedback on her outfits or her accessories or whatever the case. I've never been around someone who physically drained the energy out of my system. See, now those things were tolerable. They were annoying, but they were tolerable. Here was the last thing. Poor communication. Ultimately, that's what pulled the plug. Me and her had plans to go to another island, Nusa Penida. We were going to explore there for 2 days, 1 night. She had been to Bali one time before me, so she had spent the whole day going on and on about how she knew the best times to take the boat, how to go about buying the tickets, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward to the night before, we never actually got around to booking anything. So anyway, we come back from the club that night. It's like 3 a.m. Vibes are good. Everything's good. We all just had a good time. So we're chilling in the kitchen and I casually, I'm just like, oh girl, when are we gonna book the tickets? Did you find any times yet? And her response was, you look it up. So I responded and I'm like, oh, well, you said you knew the right times to book, so I figured you'd do it. She's gonna say, well, you can just look up the different boat companies and show it to me. I'll let you know if those ones are good or not. Huh? So I mumble, I'm like, I was wasting time, but okay. And she was like, what was that? What was that? Girl, ooh, I don't like when people try to get big with me. Don't. So, me being me, I repeated myself louder. I said, that's wasting time, but okay. She gonna respond, well, I'm not your personal assistant, so okay. And then she gets up and she goes to her room and closes the door. Huh? This combo went so left out of nowhere. We all just had a good time at the club. What? That's so out of the blue. I can't do out the blue attitudes. I don't do the whole, why is she upset? Have you ever just been around someone who physically sucks the energy out of you? That's what she does. She's a leech. I could not stand being around her for more than 2 to 3 hours at a time. It was ridiculous. So anyways, I peaced out. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Raisin Standard.